Welcome to class PM. The previous class we have studied the classification of organisms as Protista, Monera and fungi. Now let us learn the next kingdom which is said to be Plantae. So the name itself indicates Plantae means plants. That means this kingdom includes plants. See, if I give you the general characteristic features, then you will know that these are usually mostly multicellular eukaryotic cells. This kingdom Plantae which is present, it includes eukaryotic multicellular organisms and which can synthesize their own food. We all know that plants take up the primary producers in our food chain, right? When you look at the trophic levels of the food chain, they form the primary producers. And now, why do we call them as primary producers, right? Even industries produces food, yes or no? Industries give us everything. So why are these plants called as primary producers? I'll tell you. These plants are called as primary producers because everything you get in the market or everything you buy from shops is a product of plant. I'll tell you how. Say like you're wearing a very good, costly, branded attire, that is dress, right? So how is this dress made of? Yes, absolutely, it is made out of cotton, which could be it could be made out of cotton, right? And the yarn which is spun is made out of cotton balls. So from where do we get the cotton? Obviously, we get this cotton from the plant. Now, let me tell you, you all might love eating Oreo biscuits, right? Most of us love Oreo, just like it, right? But the thing is, have you ever noticed that from where did you get this Oreo? You might be definitely answering me that it is from the factories which have manufactured it. But have you ever looked at the ingredients which are used for making this? Yes, definitely that is nothing but the flour. From where do you get the flour? That is either wheat, usually they use wheat flour, right? Or rice. So from where do we get this rice and wheat? From the plants, yes or no? So that means they form the basic need or they form the basic thing in our life, because without plants you cannot imagine anything right from the day, right from your beginning of the day till the end of the day. So you're all dependent upon plants and its products. That's the reason they occupy the first tropic level in case of food chain, right? So as I've told you, these are usually multicellular. We know that plants are also multicellular organisms. They do have various cells present in their plant body which perform various activities of the body, right? And you know what are the various activities which a plant undergoes, like respiration, process of photosynthesis, excretion, right? So all these are been carried out by different cells. As there are different cells, it is said to be a multicellular. And we all know that the plants have a pigment called chloroplast, right? That is chlorophyll which is present in chloroplast, which is the basic need for the plant for making food. We all know right from 3rd and 4th class you have been learning that plants make food through their green leaves, and the green leaves have pigment called chlorophyll which will help the plants to make food for themselves. So when you look at the general characteristics of a kingdom Plantae, you can say these are multicellular, eukaryotic, autotrophic plants. If you remember, we have studied about the modes of nutrition, right? You might have learnt it from class 6 and 7 that there are different modes of nutrition or different feeding habits in case of plants and animals. So why is this said to be a autotrophic nutrition? If you know, we have learned that plants are said to be autotrophs. And why do we call them autotrophs, or what does an autotroph mean? In Greek, auto means self, trophs means plants. That means the plants which synthesize or which can make their food by themselves are said to be autotrophs. We all know that leaf is the kitchen of the plant body and it can synthesize the food using sunlight, carbon dioxide, chlorophyll and air, right? So water. That is the reason this mode of nutrition is said to be autotrophic nutrition. And we know that plants are said to be autotrophs, and the nutrition in case of plants is said to be autotrophic nutrition. And when you talk about synthesis of food, we all know this plants synthesize their own food. The plants synthesize their own food because they have green pigment. See, I'll tell you, I'll ask you one thing. If you wear a green color dress, does that mean that you have chlorophyll and you can make your own food? Definitely not. We don't have pigments in our body. Of course, we have melatonin, which will give you the skin pigmentation. But right, that is why few people look dark and few people look fair, right? So melanin is a pigment which is present in it. So in case of these plants, this pigment which is present will help them to undergo the process of photosynthesis. And to your information, that we know that whether it is an animal or a human being, we only grow to a certain period, right? It is not that animal and human beings keep growing throughout their lifetime. And we know that more or less we'll have uniform growth, right? And you see that after a certain period the growth is stopped in case of animals and humans. But in case of plants, the growth is indefinite. The growth is indefinite. You can see this keep growing throughout their lifetime. That means they keep making new cells in their body. And as we know, though they keep making new cells in their body, they are non-mobile. What do you mean by non-mobile? A plant without a smartphone? Definitely not. See, non-mobile in the sense they cannot move, right? They are stationary. Are they stationary? No, they are they cannot move from one place to other place as we people move, right? So you see that the growth is indefinite in case of these Plantae organisms, that is plants. At the same time, they can undergo process of photosynthesis. They are multicellular. They process autotrophic nutrition. They are non-mobile. And you see, we know, as I've told you, plants are said to be the producers of food in our biosphere. That means in our whole world, wherever you go, whichever corner of the country you visit or world you visit, plant is said to be the primary producer of food. Imagine if there is no plant, what would be the condition of human life? We would have become man-eaters. Yes, obviously. We are being called as omnivores because we eat plant products and few people also eat animal products. Yes, but if there were no plants, definitely every one of us would have become a man-eater. And I don't think that this day would definitely come because because of the deforestation and all, there are chances of competition for the survival between human beings. But touch wood, I don't think that this day will come in our life, right? So now let us talk about the classification of kingdom Plantae. This kingdom Plantae is basically classified on few aspects. Now let me tell you what are those aspects. The aspects is whether the plant has a differentiated body or not. Okay, what do you mean by differentiated body? Plant body has well differentiated distinct components. We all know that cell has different components present in it. So based on the distinct components, you can see the classification of, that means these are the basic things on which they have divided the kingdom Plantae, like whether do they have distinguished or distinct body differentiation. At the same time, whether do they have specialized vascular tissues, and they also have looked around like whether do they produce seeds or they do not produce seeds. Like there are few plants which do not bear seeds, there are few plants which bear seeds, and they also have categorized based on where are these seeds present. Are they present inside the fruit or are they present naked? So based on these few assumptions or few conclusions, they have divided this kingdom Plantae into various subdivisions. Now let us see what are those subdivisions. What are those divisions? Actually not subdivisions. What are the divisions? So kingdom Plantae which is present, it is basically classified on 2 points or 2 instincts. You can say do not have differentiated body or having differentiated body. Do not have differentiated body in the sense they don't have any distinction between the organs of the body, right? So under that you can see one of the division which is Thallophyta. And when you come to having a differentiated body, that means you can have a distinct vision or distinct organelles present in it. So based on this, having differentiated body, under that also they have classified these plants into two categories. Okay, the first one is they have taken a point like, do they have differentiated body, where you can see a division of Thallophyta. Under the second case, they have seen whether the body, if the body is differentiated, how is it been classified into divisions. So based on whether do they possess vascular tissue. Okay, do they possess vascular tissue or they do not possess vascular tissue. So based on the presence and absence of vascular tissue, they have categorized two divisions. In case of plant kingdom, one is Bryophyta, which do not possess any vascular tissue. Say like, I know you all know what is vascular tissue, I hope, because this vascular tissues only will help in transportation of materials from leaf to different parts of the plant body, right? That is nothing but xylem and phloem. The previous chapter we have learnt about permanent tissues of plants, where we have learnt about xylem and phloem. So there is a division called Bryophyta which do not have these xylem and phloem present in them, right? Under possessing vascular tissue, there is a group of organisms which possess vascular tissue, and these are also again categorized based on do they produce seeds or they don't produce seeds. Okay, so though they have vascular tissue, they have considered other point also, like do they bear seeds. So ones which do not bear seeds fall under category of Pteridophyta, and the ones which produce seeds, see, the plants which produce seeds are called as phanerogams. So the ones which produced seeds are again classified on two characteristics, like whether they bear naked seeds or they bear seeds inside the fruit. See, all of us will be eating different fruits, right? Seasonally we eat many fruits, and you see when you cut open the fruit, we find many seeds. Say like if you take apple, you will find 5 seeds, and if you take custard apple, you have multiple seeds, and when you take plum, you will be having only one seed, right? When you take watermelon, you will have again multiple seeds. So this is how you can say based on the number of like whether do they bear seeds or they do not bear seeds. So in case if the seed is not covered by cotyledons, then the category of division is said to be gymnosperms. What is it said? It is said to be gymnosperms. And if in case the seed is present inside the fruit, then the division of plants is said to be angiosperms. What is it called? Angiosperms. And these angiosperms are further divided by the difference between like the angiosperms are further classified into two more divisions, like subdivisions like dicots and monocots. If you remember, we know that the seed bears leaf-like structures around it, which are said to be seed leaves or cotyledons, right? So if a seed has 2 cotyledons or 2 seed leaves, then it is said to be a dicot plant, dicot seed. And if the seed bears only 1 seed leaf, then it is said to be a monocot. So based on the number of seed leaves, okay, the plant is categorized as a dicot plant or a monocot plant, and these dicot and monocot fall under the category of angiosperms. Now let us begin with the first division of Plantae, that is Thallophyta. That means which do not have a differentiated body. So as I've told you, first let us begin with the first division of Plantae, right? So under which where you can see I have told you that the body is not differentiated. So under which you have a division Thallophyta. This Thallophyta is commonly called as algae. If you know, generally wherever there is a wet condition, you see that a green color mass is found over the wet places in your washrooms or under the sinks or at the corners of your rooms or wherever it is wet, and sometimes even the wet branches and stems, right? That is nothing but it is algae, and commonly it is Thallophyta. It belongs to division Thallophyta, which is commonly called as algae. This includes mostly primitive and simple plants, okay, where as I've told you, they do not have any differentiated body parts such as stems, roots or leaves. Okay, that means they do not possess any true leaves or true stems or true roots. Okay, you cannot see the differentiation as in case of the other plants. Generally, when you look at a plant outside your window or on the road or in your playground, you see that they have big trunks with branches, leaves, fruits and flowers, right? But whereas in case of this division, they do not have any they don't bear any leaves, roots and stems, and these are predominantly, that means they are aquatic organisms, that means they live inside the water, they are aquatic organisms, and usually these aquatic they are aquatic, they can be found both in marine habitats and fresh water. What do you mean by marine? That means they can grow under sea also. Okay, they can sustain in the sea and oceans also. At the same time, they can also lead their life in freshwater ponds and rivers. That means they can live in any habitat, whether it is salty habitat or whether it is a freshwater habitat, right? And these possess photosynthetic pigments. They possess photosynthetic pigments. That means they have chlorophyll in them. You know, usually we see that green color of the algae, right? These are green because they have a pigment called chlorophyll. Right, and you all know when they have chlorophyll, they can synthesize their own food. They can synthesize their own food. That's the reason these are also called as photoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs, right? And you see that apart from having chlorophyll pigment, they also have additional pigments like red, brown, and yellow. You can see red algae, brown algae, right? So apart from this, they also have red, brown, and yellow algae like Thallophyta, and mostly the organisms like Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, Chlorella, Volvox, all this fall under category of division Thallophyta. So this Thallophyta is nothing but commonly called as algae. Now let us continue with the next division of this Plantae kingdom, which is Bryophyta. Next, let us learn about the next type of next division, that is Bryophyta. So when you talk about these Bryophyta, this bryos in bios in Greek language means moss. So you all know moss plants, right? So usually this Bryophyta is said to be moss plant, which includes simplest and primitive non-vascular land plants. These are actually terrestrial plants, but these are non-vascular. What do you mean by non-vascular? That means they do not possess any vascular tissues like xylem and phloem. Okay, though they are land plants, they don't have any vascular bundles present in them, and usually they are said to be like they require very less water to grow. But though they are said to be like grown in less water, they grow on the sides of the ditches, ponds, lakes, etc. They need water every minute. They need water every step in their life cycle. It is only said that they can live with limited water supply, but still they need water in every step of life cycle. Okay, and you see that these are called as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Now, as I've stated, these are called as amphibians of the plant kingdom. What do you mean by amphibians? That means which can live on land and in water. So these mosses can also be found in water. At the same time, they can grow on the sides of the ditches, ponds and lakes. So that is the reason these are said to be amphibians. And the vascular tissues which are present are completely absent. Okay, that means they don't have any vascular tissues. They don't have any xylem, they don't have any phloem, right? And an embryo is formed upon fertilization. So during the process of reproduction, you see the zygote develops into an embryo during the process of fertilization, and examples are mosses and liverworts. And these liverworts are usually saprophytes which act as parasites. Okay, what do you mean by saprophytes? Saprophytes are those organisms which feed upon dead and decaying parts of plants and animals. So though they depend upon dead and decaying plants of other animals, they actually act as parasites. That means they grow upon other organisms. They depend upon body of other organism. Either they live inside the body or on the body. So this is about the division Bryophyta. Usually the Bryophyta is called as moss plant family. As I've told you, these are non-vascular. That means they do not possess any vascular bundles like xylem or phloem. Though they are land plants, they do not have any xylem or phloem. Okay, and these are said to be the amphibians of the plant kingdom. Now let us proceed with the next type of division, that is Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta mostly includes fern plants. What does it include? Fern plants. You know ferns, right? It includes fern plants and this includes moss plants. So Pteridophyta, as I've told you, mostly this includes fern plants, and these Pteridophyta division includes the first vascular land plants. What do you mean by vascular land plants? That means these plants possess the vascular bundles called xylem and phloem. That means in case of Bryophyta, we have seen that they don't have any vascular bundles, right, for transportation. But Pteridophyta are the first division of plants which possessed vascular bundles, okay, and these are actually saprophytes. These plants are saprophytes. They do not prepare their own food. Instead, they depend upon the dead and decaying parts of plants and animals. And you know that the plant parts which are present in case of these pteridophyta, they usually possess vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. That means they have the vascular tissues called as xylem and phloem. And we know that every living organism reproduces, right? It is one of the life process to be carried out. So these pteridophyta plants usually reproduce by spores. And if you remember, I have explained you about the rhizopus, where we have seen that on the bread mold you can see the fungi where the spores are present, right? In the same way, these fern plants which are present, the leaves of these fern plants have spores on them, and these spores detach and fall onto the ground, and they develop into a new plant. So this is about the division of pteridophyta and bryophyta. And the examples, as I've told you, Lycopodium, Salginella, Marsilia, all these fall under the family of division of pteridophyta. We'll see the next division of kingdom Plantae. The next division is gymnosperms. We know that based on the seeds, like whether do they bear naked seeds or do they bear seeds which are present in the fruit, we have classified these divisions into gymnosperms and angiosperms. Gymnosperms means gymnos. Gymnos in Greek means naked. Sperma is seed. So when you talk about these gymnosperms, you see that this includes land plants which bear naked seeds. That means the seed is not covered, okay, in or enclosed in any embryo. And usually these are evergreen and woody plants, and these plants bear cones. If you have seen a pine tree, you see that the leaves are present over the branches and you find some cone-like structures, right? And these cones bear seeds. And that's the reason these plants are also called as coniferous plants. These are also called as coniferous plants, okay. So the cones which are present, they bear the seeds. So that means the seeds are not enclosed, they are seen out, right? So example, pine tree, deodar, okay, cycas, all these are examples of your gymnosperms. And when we talk about the next division, that is angiosperms, which bear or where you can see the seeds which are enclosed inside a fruit, right? And it includes vascular plants which produce flowers, okay. That means in case of gymnosperms, the plants do not produce any flower. Pine plants, they do not produce any flower. Instead, they have the cones which bear the seeds, and these seeds are used for propagation of the plant, right? And that is the reason we are call it as coniferous plants. And whereas in case of angiosperms, you see that these are usually flowering plants, and we know that most of the flowering plants bear fruits, and these fruits bear seeds, right? Seeds are enclosed inside the embryo. Seeds are enclosed inside the embryo. You know what is embryo, right? So there are stamens and carpels which are said to be the male and female reproductive systems, and stamens, you know, they have pollen grain, and carpels will have stigma, style, and pollen, ovary, where the process of fertilization takes place. And you see the inside the ovule they are present. They are not present outside, just like in case of gymnosperms. In case of gymnosperms, the cone bears it, but whereas in case of angiosperms, they are present inside the ovule. The seeds are present inside the ovule, which is present inside a ovary, right? So they, based on the number of leaves which are present on the seed, these are categorized into dicots and monocots. If a seed has 2 seed leaves or cotyledons, it is said to be dicot. And if a seed bears only 1 single seed leaf, it is said to be a monocot. So examples you can give: pea, gram, rice, maize, all these flowering plants will fall under the category of angiosperms. So this is all about your kingdom Plantae.